Great to have you with us tonight, folks. I can't let this story go. Chapter number 2, and there'll be more. The second biggest employer in the United States of America is under attack. No bigger story in the country if we're talking about jobs, because 120,000 postal workers, their jobs are on the chopping blocks, and Republicans want to end basically 235 years of reliable mail service in America. Now, delivering the mail, this really isn't that easy of a job. Postal workers have to go door to door in small towns and in big cities through blazing heat, brutal cold, snowstorms, you name it. Republicans want shared sacrifice from these folks, postal workers, but they want Bill O'Reilly to keep every dime he has. I'll have more on Bill O coming up here in just a few moments. Congressman Darrell Issa is the guy you need to focus on. This guy is worth $300 million. Does he care about the little guy? Does he care about the middle classers? No. This guy has introduced the Postal Reform Act of 2011, and he spoke about his bill a few weeks ago.
I'm concerned about the post office. It's going to lose $10 billion. A lot of Washingtonian think tanks are saying, well, okay, we'll just do a bailout. We'll just, fudge the figures. And we can't really keep doing that. This is an organization that can be profitable, that can meet all of its responsibilities, but it's going to have to right-size its workforce if it's going to do it. We're not talking about pay cuts, but we are talking about people being retired that are no longer needed because you and I are emailing far more than paper mailing.
I'll tell you what, he's pretty slick and pretty clever. Here's the rest of the story. You see, Issa is engaged basically in a smear campaign aimed at one of America's greatest institutions, the Postal Service. The reason Republicans don't want the post office delivering your mail is because it works. They want to privatize everything. That's their mission. And this is the biggest target in government. The post office, they're not looking for a bailout. Please stop using that word, Congressman. They just want to quit funding 75 years of pensions in a 10-year window, which the Congress passed. It was a law in 2006 in the lame duck session. The post office would have basically right now a $1.5 billion surplus today had that law not been passed. Now, Issa's bill would end Saturday delivery and close or consolidate thousands of post offices and processing centers across America. Issa's bill would eliminate tens of thousands of middle-class union jobs, but he doesn't give a damn.
80% of their cost are human beings. And if you've got too many human beings, you'll build in inefficiency, you'll use labor poorly, and that's what's been happening, and it's why we have to get this right.
Too many human beings. We have too many jobs with the Postal Service. All of a sudden, after 235 years of great service, let's just go get them, even though zero tax dollars go to the Postal Service. He just doesn't tell the whole story, does he? Do you hear that? I mean, Darrell Issa is pro-robot and anti-human being. This is nothing more than an effort to nail workers one more time. The Republican attack on the United States Postal Service will also have a major impact, hear me now, on voting. Millions of Americans mail in absentee ballots. Keep in mind, voters in Oregon can vote only by mail. And the state of Washington just passed a law to do the same. This will be a major rural disadvantage. Now, in those states, if you can only vote by mail and the mail service is cut back, can we do some real math here? That's voter suppression. People who vote by mail might be forced to go to UPS or FedEx. Both of those companies line their pockets of Republicans election after election. For the last 12 years, FedEx has given 58% of their money to Republicans. UPS has given 63% of their political donations to Republicans. And let me ask you tonight, do you trust UPS or FedEx to handle your ballot? Let's cut right to the chase on this, folks. This is going to butcher rural America. What about small businesses? I thought the Republicans were all about helping out small business. I thought the Republicans were going to care about the elderly. Oh, yeah, this will affect the elderly. Any of you seniors out there get your medications through the mail? Well, if you're in a small town, you're going to have to pay a heck of a lot more because, you see, the Postal Service delivers 25% of America where these private services won't go. Yeah, that's right. The Postal Service helps UPS and FedEx make money. And, of course, it's going to hurt small businesses. It's going to hurt journalism in rural America. You're going to get the USA Today to cover your county commission when it comes, maybe a water issue comes up. Well, you'll have right-wing radio. You'll have plenty of that. But the defenders of the truth, where are they going to be? The Postal Service. You mean to tell me that after 235 years of a successful run to helping Americans communicate with the truth, all of a sudden this Congress back in 2006 is going to decide that we're going to change everything? No. It's all about the money. It's all about going after and attacking unions. And it's all about destroying a great institution in this country that they think they're going to be able to privatize later on down the road. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question, will Republicans be successful in killing the post office? Text A for yes, text B for no to 622-639. Our blog, wide open for you for a comment at ed.msnbc.com. We'll bring you the results later on in the show. Now, what can this Congress do? We're talking about 120,000 jobs that are on the chopping block right now. You heard Issa. He thinks it's a human problem. Joining me now is Congressman Stephen Lynch of Massachusetts. Congressman Lynch has introduced H.R. 1351 to eliminate the 75-year pension obligation. Congressman, good to have you with us tonight.
Good to be with you, Ed.
I want to make sure America gets this story because I think it's part of our infrastructure. I think it's huge to small business, into the ag community especially. It's going to hurt the poor. It's going to hurt the disabled. It's going to hurt seniors. Is there any way that you think your bill is going to be able to pass to turn this around?
Well, I think it could be part of the solution. We've been meeting. There have been 4 members of the House, 4 members of the Senate, and I think the elements of an agreement are there. It does not involve laying off 120,000 hardworking postal workers. Right now, the federal employee retirement system actually owes the post office about $7 billion. And one of the things that my bill would do is allow some of that money to be used for a retirement incentive for workers right now who are eligible for retirement. But because of this economy and because their housing values are down, because their 401ks have been cut in half, they've been hanging on. So this would allow us to downsize by attrition, by having voluntary retirements of hundreds of thousands of these employees.
But the financial issue here, Congressman, is that the law was passed by a lame duck Republican Congress in 2006 before Nancy Pelosi got her hands on the gavel and the Democrats took over the House. This was one last shot at the working folk of America, an attempt to destroy the post office. And they have put a harness on them to fund 75 years worth of pensions and health care and do it in a 10-year window. Why don't we do that to Walmart? They're the #1 employer in the country. I mean, what other business has to do this?
There is no other business in America that has to do what the post office is being required to do, which is to pre-fund their retiree health care. You're absolutely right, Ed. And this is a target using unions here, the postal unions as a target. And I think that there's a belief, and you've hit on it already, there's a belief that we can privatize the Postal Service. But as you've already noted, there are many rural towns that the Postal Service is the only entity that delivers in those areas.
Well, it'd be 25% of America if you go by today's standards. 25% of America doesn't get private service. They have to depend on the Postal Service, which, of course, is obligated to be in those communities. And we're talking about closing thousands of facilities across America. So this is not only going after collective bargaining rights, but what about the voter suppression issue? I mean, we're looking at Oregon and Washington that vote by mail. This will affect elections, will it not?
Well, there's certainly the trust issue. We see the Postal Service as being a very trustworthy. Year after year, when Americans are asked what branch of your government or what part of your government do you have the greatest confidence in and the greatest customer satisfaction, and the Postal Service comes out on top time and time again. So I don't think that people have the same regard for the private companies that are trying to move into the market.
Well, whether they trust them or not, it's an issue of access. If you don't have a private company working in a rural area, how are these folks going to vote? It's a disincentive. They're going to have to get in their car and drive somewhere and hand it off. I mean, this is just horrific, I think. Congressman Lynch, I hope your bill gets support of every Democrat and the White House. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Let's turn now to John Nichols, Washington correspondent of The Nation. John, what do you think? Is this voter suppression?
It is, Ed. In fact, the Senate was alerted to this in Congress several years ago by Senator Ron Wyden and Senator Jeff Merkley from Oregon, who said in a letter, this is a serious problem. When you cut back the Postal Service, you threaten a whole system that is structurally in place in Oregon, which I might add is a state that generally votes Democratic for president and sends 2 Democrats to the U.S. Senate.
So I guess you could say that people in rural America could be getting second-class service, maybe treated like second-class citizens. It's going to hurt small business, no doubt. What about journalism, in your opinion? You've worked in small towns many times in your career. What does this do?
Well, remember that the Postal Service actually delivers a lot of small-town weeklies through the mail, and there is a slightly lower rate, and so it makes it easier for the small-town weeklies and dailies to stay in business. So this is a part of sustaining the network of rural independent journalism in this country. And there's something else, Ed, too. The Postal Service guarantees universal service. It gets the mail out to places that really are way down that long country road. If you cut it off, you aren't just talking about losing journalism. You're talking about losing a whole sense of connection to small towns that could well begin to dry up to an even greater extent than they already have when you shut their one kind of core central business, which is the post office.
I want our audience tonight to grab this number, $1.5 billion. Got that number? $1.5 billion. That's how much money the Postal Service would have in the bank right now, ready to operate as a surplus if they hadn't had a right-wing Congress stick it to them just before Nancy Pelosi got the gavel in 2007. It was in the lame duck session of the Congress. So if you had gotten this government takeover out of the way, but you see, these righties are on a mission to destroy collective bargaining. They're on a mission to privatize everything they possibly can. Look at the giving of the companies to the politicians who would be in this service industry of delivery. It's very clear to see. So here we have a case where a bad law was passed. And now we have a chance to pass another law to repeal it, which would save 120,000 jobs. John, where's the White House? Where are the Democrats?
The president has been too weak on this issue. He has tried to walk down the middle and do the sort of arbitrator-in-chief game. This is a place where he needs to step up. He should say that the United States has a commitment to its rural communities and also to its urban communities. Those 3,700 post offices that are threatened with closure are largely in our most rural areas and also in our lowest income inner city neighborhoods. Yeah. These are institutions that form a web of connection for this country. If we break that web, we really shut down the human face of government. And I'll remind you of one thing, Ed. Every day, postal workers save lives. That's not their job, but they knock on a door and somebody doesn't answer. They go in and get somebody health care. Postal workers deliver babies all the time.
Great point.
It's human beings going out into our communities.
No question about it. John, great to have you with us. Washington correspondent of The Nation magazine, John Nichols here on The Ed Show. Remember to answer the question there at the bottom of the screen. Obviously, we want to know what you think. And tweet us at Ed Show. Coming up, Bill O'Reilly is calling for shared sacrifice, but he doesn't want to share his millions. Heidi Harris and Bill Press will weigh in on that. And later, a right-wing smear merchant is attacking me and the great firefighters in Columbus, Ohio. Chief Jack Reel will tell the truth. I'll play the tape with commentary. You don't want to miss it.